Oh, yeah. And welcome back to the show. Uh-oh, there's a cat in the room. Me, Hugh, Sandra, co-host. And now...
Rather stunned co-host right now.
We've got Sheri Andrunyk joining us from ICPublishing.
Host.
What?
Cold
host. Oh, you are? Oh, that's too bad. Yeah. Sheri, are you cold?
I'm pretty good.
Okay,
I'm pretty good.
Well,
yes.
Welcome to that
Thank
channel.
You.
And you're down all the way from Bradford, so great to see that you've made the trip down to the city today. And and we're going to be talking about ICPublishing, which is that a company that you have founded? And
it actually evolved from the company that I had, Insightful Communication. I still have that company. That is a company where I did a lot of mentoring and coaching under that umbrella. And ICPublishing really developed quite organically when I published my very first book, self-published my very first book. And in a lot of the business coaching and mentoring I was doing, it was just a natural segue. Once I did it, figured it out, and there were, it was a significant learning curve initially for me to self-publish, even though I had some good connections in the industry. And then I had clients coming to me and saying, how did you do that? Can you help me? And then it was like, no, I just want you to do it. Forget helping me, I just want you to do it. So, initially I really thought that I would just expand my coaching practice and coach authors and support them through the self-publishing process. But I quickly realized that there was just a gap there to fill, and it felt right. It really felt like all the things that I've been doing in my career up to that point really brought me there. And that's when we created ICPublishing. And so most of my clients now are authors. They do some coaching, probably do coaching until I'm 80 because I love it. And part of what I love about the work that I do is that with authors, and simplifying the process where possible, and infusing as much joy in the creative process and the production and the publishing process as possible. And
so really, so for people who are looking to publish their own book, you are a go-to person. Is that accurate?
Yes, we have an amazing team with a lot of different specialties. ICPublishing, or perhaps I will say partner publishing, bridges the gap between self-publishing and traditional publishing.
So wait a second, you're calling this partner publishing?
Partner publishing,
okay.
Yes. We are a client's publisher. And we do publish under the ICPublishing umbrella, but our services and our business model it fits in between the self-publishing business model and the traditional business model. So if a client doesn't want to go the traditional route, which most people are familiar with that, it's not a bad route, it's just if you want to go that route, there are certain steps you need to take and then you have to wait. If the other direction or option is self-publishing, and that's really where you figure it all out yourself and you do it yourself. So ICPublishing kind of fits in the middle to provide support through that process. So
who would come to you? I'm a little bit confused on.
I would.
Okay.
That's because you like her,
right?
But I mean, no. What kind of?
Thank you. What kind of person would come to ICPublishing? The one who is perhaps fairly established and is busy and does not want to go the self-publishing route, has something very meaningful that they want to share through experience, through education, through the School of Hard Knocks. It can be lots of different titles we published, business, entrepreneurial, motivation, life stories, spiritual, some fictional stories. That's typically when there's a moral to it and there's something attached to that for the author. Yes, exactly. Fiction with a purpose. So either people who are really busy in their daytime world and really don't want to tackle the self-publishing path, or someone who is really intimidated by the creative and technical pieces that you need to go through to get your book to print. Other people that would come to us are people who want to maintain their own copyright. They want to maintain as much creative control as possible.
And they want to make more money, right?
And they
don't
want to
have
make
to give
more
it
money.
all to the traditional
You're
publisher.
bang on. You're bang on, exactly. Our business model is such that clients come to us and they pay for the services that they need, not what they don't need. And they get a lot of support, and they also get a platform. Our platform, our online platform, is growing, and authors really want that kind of support and that kind of community. Not all authors want to go the traditional route, and again, it's
well, you're kind of lost in a big sea, right? Unless you're like a Steven Spielberg or a
if you're
Harry
a celebrity,
Potter.
Right? And I'm not saying novels tend to be novel writers tend to go that route.
You mean the traditional publishing?
Traditional publishing.
Okay.
Until they wallpaper their living room with the rejection letters, right?
Well, there's something to that as well. Again, you really just have to figure out what path you want to take and then take it. I don't feel my role is to say one role is better than the other, or one path is better than the other. What I can say is that the path for me was, well, if there was a partner publisher, when I self-published, that's exactly the route that I would have gone. But because there wasn't, I created. And that's sort of a pattern that I have
you learned
had in my world.
You do all
my
the excavation work.
Exactly. So once you've learned it, you have to pass it on in some way, shape, or form. And it just made sense for me to expand in that way.
So do you also help with the promotion? Do you also help with that component of it?
We do.
And any tours or book signings or things like, or are there books in stores?
We have so many different kinds of authors. Okay. So, the support that I provide to our clients and our team provides to our clients is really customized according to what their needs are. So, we used to book say chapters book signings for our clients. Now, things are always changing, and now I find that authors are better to go in and introduce themselves to someone at Chapters, the book signing consignment manager, so to speak, and go do it themselves. But I'll give you a format. I'll tell you what you need to do. What are the things that are going to help you get your foot in the door? Relatively speaking, if they've got space to, Chapters is great that way. They're looking to support their community as well. So we do take on individual projects, such as editing projects. Some people just want us to help them with a review and evaluation of their work and their the editing needs, and then they may just carry on to the traditional path. They just want to have a really clean, solid manuscript, so we can provide that.
I would think too that sometimes a traditional publisher, if an author walks in with a book that's already done, there's a little bit. That's a lot of credibility to bring to the table.
It is, and actually, I've had a couple of my clients say this to me, probably more than once, that if I get picked up by a traditional publisher and they want to buy 100,000 copies of my book and they want to do this and publish me, will you be supportive of that in our contract? And of course I will. Why not? Mm-hmm. I've done my job and provided them with a product that they can be really, really proud of and that can compete and compare in the traditional world, if you will.
I think the whole publishing world is changing, though.
It's changing considerably.
Not just represented by the need you saw to come in with what you're providing, which is one aspect of it. But I think, the traditional publishers, just like record companies, just like everybody, they're trying to figure out how to move forward in this environment too. And now you've got things like the ebooks and all that. And by the way, do you get into that?
Yes.
Ebooks with your authors?
We do. We really encourage our authors, depending on their audience, of course, to consider all the formats that are available to them to get their book in, to make it really accessible and easy.
So what are all those formats? Because that's awfully overwhelming.
Paperback, of course.
Right, and then there's
the ebook, the PDF, that's your conventional ebook, which most people are familiar with. Then there's EPUB and Mobi, and those two files are for e-readers.
Is that like Kindle?
Yes.
Will a Kindle read a PDF or a Kobo?
Technically speaking, I haven't tested all the formats on all electronic devices.
Yeah.
However, more and more applications are being created to make that possible. PDFs, I'm not sure about, but say, for example, an iPad, you could definitely read, an e-reader file on your iPad, and you could also read an ebook, right? And then there's audiobooks. We're just getting into audiobooks. And we've got a great fellow on our team that is doing audiobooks for us.
So that means he's doing the reading?
The author has an opportunity to do the reading themselves if they're well-spoken, if they're comfortable with the material, or we can hire someone to read for them. I've just done one. It's on a shorter book that I just did in e-format, and it's called Do You Have a Book in You? And Mark did his, and his is Stories and Lessons by My Father, or for my father's life. And he's very well spoken, so and I can't wait to hear it. Actually, we're just putting his book out now, so.
Yeah, that's really...
So do you have a studio where people actually do this recording?
He has a studio in Richmond Hill, which is in between where you are here in Toronto and us in Home Landing, Bradford area. Yeah. So North Toronto.
The other thing I'm thinking about is that it's almost like, and we've had this discussion with a lot of different guests, but it's like in the old days, you would have a very small number of people that would ever be public writers, right?
Yeah.
But now it's almost like everybody has got a book in them, right? At least one.
It's true, and in a way, I believe that we all have a book in us, whether it's the book that is meant to be put out there and published. There are a lot of different reasons to write and produce a book. Sometimes you may just want to do that for the historical purposes and for your family. Well, obviously our coaching and our recommendations and our package for that kind of author versus a business author who needs and wants more, is certainly, it's going to be different, right? You have to customize it for sure. So, yeah.
So you would service anybody from a mom with kids who has a book in her to a business person who is trying to promote their business.
Real estate agent. Right. For sure. Keynote speaker, executive coach.
Every speaker should have a book, right?
I do believe that. I do believe that. And they should do it well. I mean, don't do it if you're not going to do it well. That's certainly what I believe. Because there's a lot of stuff out there in print now that really doesn't do the author justice, the person justice, for sure.
And the sector of that industry, too, as well, right?
Exactly. And people don't realize what goes into the creative process and how important it is to, first of all, give credit where credit's due. Make sure that you've checked your sources. If you're quoting people, get permission to quote them. And there's lots and lots of different details there that, if you don't pay attention to that it doesn't look good on you, really.
And so you have to catch those things. That's part of what you do.
We do. And each of us have our strengths. So we have someone who actually has that particular specialty as far as bibliography, references, the permission process, and
the research, fact-based fact stuff.
Yes, and some of our team love that, and then there's others of us like the big picture part of the project. Yes.
Well, and that's, thank God you have some people who like that, because thank God some people want to be a doctor, because I could never do surgery.
That's right. Yes.
Really?
Yeah. And so the other thing I would definitely say is, as far as when you ask me who we would take on as authors, every project that comes to us, we really look at on an individual basis. So not every project is a project or book that we would publish necessarily.
So would you say,
because we specialize.
So would you say we'll look at somebody's book and say, you know what, I don't think we can do what you want or need us to do. So you have said that to people.
So, for example, someone came to me recently, found us online, and asked about an editing support for his fantasy novel. And, it's pretty well written, but that's not our area of expertise. So I do have one editor that I hire on our team. So I spoke with her and I spoke with the client, and I recommended a manuscript review and evaluation first to get a sense of where he was at, how we could help him most, give him some really strong feedback, positive feedback in any direction that we could offer. And I've got this editor. She's very enthused. She's studied fantasy fiction and numerous other genres in literature, and she's thrilled to be a part of that and taking the lead on that. So that's something we would do on an individual basis, but we wouldn't publish that book necessarily under the umbrella of ICPublishing. We would do individual services that support that author's path.
So would you pass them along to another publisher, or just put a different name on it, or?
He's not at that stage to even really make that decision. First, we're doing the review and manuscript evaluation. Then it will be editing and proofing. Chances are with a project, a book like this, he would probably go traditional, but we could certainly guide him in other areas and refer him on if need be.
Well, so let me ask you about this then, because as we're saying, it's like I think we're probably hitting a point in our cultural history where more and more people are publishing than ever before, right? And writing and publishing, and yet perhaps I don't know about the readership, but is are maybe people are starting to read less, right? Everything's moving to video,
or audio.
Yeah, or audio.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
Things are changing, but I don't think they're changing to the extent that people are not reading anymore. In fact, I think we're reading more than we ever have. We just have to be really good as a publisher and as an author to create content that's meaningful and perhaps in more bite-sized pieces than we once did. I think that's important.
Now, are people reading less paperback, though? Is that a big, have you noticed that?
When I talk to people about that, so many people still say to me they love the feeling of a good book in their hands. And I'm very much a traditionalist that way as well.
Yeah.
Do you find that with younger people that's the same situation, Sheri? Or could that be... and also too, as you're taking a drink, I'll just ask this question. You had mentioned that certain books you don't, depending on the book, some books go traditional publishing, like novels, and depending on the book, sometimes maybe not even consider a paperback, just go straight to ebook.
Some.
What kinds of books would those be?
Which ones would go as far as ebooks? Sometimes if it's a how-to book, or they like a client wants to. What's that?
A workbook or something?
It'd have to be very interactive.
Okay.
So I'm.
Don't worry about me. I'm not doing anything.
I thought we were talking in sign language now.
That's another kind of book.
There you go. Another one, right? So you're asking me about ebooks. Why would you just publish an ebook format versus paperback? Some people like to do that when they have a short book that they want to use to generate leads on their website, for example.
Okay.
That might be one way that you would create an ebook. It's sort of a how-to. If it's part of a course, that would be another online course. That might be another way that you would, or another reason why you might just want to do ebook. Sometimes also from a budget standpoint. It depends on your audience, how much of an audience, an existing audience and platform you already have as an author.
And how much are they willing to pay? Because the ebooks are usually cheaper for the end user too, right?
Yes, I don't know that people make a decision to buy an ebook over a paperback if they really want the book. I think they buy the book based on how they want to enjoy it, how they want to read it. That's my personal take.
That's an interesting...
Well, the thing about that, I mean, if you do for a hard book, if you're paying, $40 or something, you keep it.
Yes.
Right? That's the thing about that. And you do have something for that, and that doesn't go bad, or doesn't become obsolete. You always have that. So I think that, to your point, that probably is one of the reasons why, because that's not going to change. That book will always be that book.
Exactly.
But with an ebook, you can also change editions and stuff if you need to, right? So in terms of education books, that might be better.
Yes.
update things with new information or that kind of thing?
And these days it's so affordable, and I say that relatively speaking, of course, but it's so affordable to print books. Let's say, for example, you have a 20,000 word book. Now, that's not a huge book, but 20,000 word book, and
how many pages is that?
100.
Okay.
So you say maybe, I would say about 100, give or take.
Okay.
25,000 word book.
Okay.
And if you figure, let's say you only want to start out with 250 books to start, we could probably get you, and please don't quote me, whoever's listening, don't quote me. But let's say we get you a price of like $5.50 per book, maybe $6, depends on how fancy it is inside and that kind of thing. That's
pretty good.
That's pretty good.
It is.
And of course, when you go to print again, the electronic file just has to be de-archived, if you will. That's a term that we use. They will make the edits on the original file. You have a new print file, and then you go to print with as many more copies as you want again.
And it's not as expensive, right? Because you've already got the original.
Right. The initial outlay is a bit more of an investment, but that's because you want to have your book typeset, so it's professionally done and it prints well and it looks good. Yeah. And you've got a quality product to actually convert your files to ebook from as well, right? So it's one thing to convert your very basic Word document into a PDF file. It's another thing to create the EPUB and the MOBI files for reading on your tablet. And many people, I don't read as much. I'm on my iPad and my laptop. But when I'm reading a book, unless it's a reference book, I tend to be I like the paperback. But if you're a lot of people tell me that when they're reading on an iPad, let's say, or their tablet, there are so many books that they stop reading because they're not formatted properly. And so there you go. It doesn't matter how amazing that content is. If it doesn't keep the reader reading, you're done. What a waste, right? And it doesn't matter. I mean, it certainly would matter to the reader if they've paid, more than a couple of dollars for it. And pricing books these days is another whole ball of wax.
Where you need some professional expertise, right?
Well, for sure. Yeah. But then it's subjective as well.
We all have go about determining that.
Exactly.
I have no idea.
You have to get a sense of what the market is bearing right now.
Yeah.
But then you also have to think about your audience again from a cost perspective, and what costs you have to cover. I mean, that has to play a part to some degree, but it can't be the first priority, because if you price something at $30 and it really should be $20, then people might think twice about paying that $30. Unless you've got a very strong author platform already and an online platform already where, people are ready to buy in. And
it depends where you're selling the books too, right?
For sure.
One of the great things for a speaker to have it is that they're up there in front of the crowd, but they also have a book that's for sale on the table in the back, and people can take the ideas home with them.
I often say to clients that books don't sell just because they're on a bookshelf or on a distribution order system or distribution catalog. You still have to get the client or the potential purchaser engaged and interested in purchasing your book.
Jump out and say, pick me.
Exactly. Well, and certainly cover design, professional cover design, and that does make a difference. But
But then there's the book tour. There's the book trailer, right? There's the video interview with the author.
Exactly. I knew you were going to get to that.
You did?
I knew it.
I didn't even know I was going to get to that.
I'm sure you did.
Because
you're a smart man, Hugh.
It's so unconscious now. He's not even aware he's doing it anymore.
Of course. It makes total sense.
Exactly.
Total sense.
Okay. Well, this has been great, Sheri. Now,
any tips you can leave?
Yeah.
Sorry, not to put you on the spot.
Any tips? Yeah, any tips that I can impart to people
any up and coming would be?
Yeah, people who have written a book and wanting to decide what path they should take.
Either that, or maybe they're just thinking it's a kind of a small idea, a nebulous.
I just wrote a blog about this.
Yeah.
And it was about giving people tips and ideas on what they need to do and what kind of support they might need to get. And sometimes it's just getting a writing coach, so sitting down with a writing coach for an hour and picking their brain.
Even such a thing?
Yes, a creative coach, for sure. Absolutely. Sometimes great editors incorporate that into the support they give their clients, prospective clients. But there are writing coaches and creative coaches that's all they do. And
or maybe the first thing they should do is just give you a call.
And well, they can certainly give us a call, because we do provide that kind of support as well.
See?
Having
or
a
read
consultation
your blog.
in that.
Where can they get your blog?
ICPublishing.ca.
Okay.
Yes. ICPublishing.ca.
So that's not
to
just
check
the
out
blog.
Letter I, the letter C.
The letter I, the letter C.
Okay.
Publishing.ca. And there's a blog tab right there, and on the homepage you'll see my most recent blogs that you can link to. And the ICBookstore.ca has quite a number of our titles. Our book titles that we produced.
One other question. Speaking of sign language, do you do any of those kinds of books, Braille?
No, but that's a great question, and who knows what tomorrow holds. Anything's possible.
Exactly.
You just never know. That might be down. This may be a foreshadowing or something.
Well, and then one day we know they're going to have pills, right? So you just take the pill, and that's like the equivalent of reading the book. It's coming.
Scary.
It
is that the red pill or the blue pill?
That's very
Is that the
scary.
red pill or the blue pill?
That's up to the publisher.
Oh.
Okay?
Hey, I've seen videos where they have these kids that can read with their feet. It's true.
Yeah, I saw that too.
It's true.
Yeah.
They actually read with their feet.
Wow.
Isn't that interesting? So
Yes.
that'd be a whole different kind of publishing, I suppose, huh?
Yes. I'll bloom where I'm planted, thanks.
Okay, Sheri, this has been great. Actually, it's inspiring
you for your time.
because I know I have a book in me. Yeah, I know you got a book in you, and I know everybody out there watching this has a book in them. And
You have like a whole lifetime of.
You probably have a library.
Yeah, thank you. And Yale Library.
so thanks for coming down.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you
Okay.
so
That's
much,
great.
and good luck. And I'd love to have you back and see what we're doing next time. What's
All right.
new in publishing?
Yeah.
Right on.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, I think that's it for the show
Is that
today,
the camera?
Sandra.
That camera's not on?
Yeah, this camera right here.
Oh, okay.
You know, I'm looking over there. But this is the camera that's on right now. So
Okay. All right.
we just want to say thanks, everybody, for tuning in today, and we'll see you all next time right here on liquidlaunchthatchannel.com.